Subscribe or you'll be visited by the toll troll. Tell me about times you've quit a job. Did it work out? Did you have a plan? Did you crash and burn? How much money did you have on hand when you quit? Best decision of my life. My boss treated me like utter crap, the pay was really low and I honestly was ultra depressed. I had $10K at the time from some family inheritance or something and basically entered Dex Screener and started learning everything I could about the ins and outs of the page. Then I started trading and oh my god did it make a difference. Crap posting while working from home, get LinkedIn message, hi Anon, would you like to work for our company, we have X benefits. Okay. Quit my job and get a new one with 90% increase in salary. I'm a third worldie so my expenses are really low earning in dollars. I quit at the end of 2019 and I moved to Thailand for try to become a pro MMA fighter but COVID ruins all my plans just before to reach my goal, and now I'm broke and I'm back to live with my parents and I put all the few money I got into crypto. 2 jobs I quit after a couple months, a few others after the first day or so, those were basic wagey garbage and one company that was super shady dealing with state employee pensions, and the longest I stayed at one place was 14 months. Looking for another job now. Been where I'm at for 8 months and I'm looking to bail since there's really nothing here for me. I steadily increased my pay every time so there's that. For me though I just get really bored after a certain period of time. I have a habit of being super gung-ho and trying to advance yesterday whenever I start anything new but the bureaucracy and or limping managers eventually faded away there. I know it's all the same crap at the end of the day and the only reason anyone is there is for a paycheck but I can't help it. I need to feel I'm at least advancing in something otherwise it all feels beyond pointless unless I'd be making hecky money as a trade-off. On another note, if there's one thing I learned about working it's that the work itself isn't even the problem most of the time, it's the heckin' people. I've thought about it quite a bit Anon. But there's no escape for anyone. I realized recently that pretty much everyone I know who works 9 to 5 experiences passive suicidal ideation. I used to think it was unusual to want to lay down in front of a train to not have to go to my job anymore. But it turns out this is probably the most common sentiment in America, just with the method of escape varying. You can pretend like you're going to quit but you won't. No matter how bad it gets. If you somehow manage to, you have maybe a few months of freedom before you're back in another job you grow to despise. The torture will continue. There's only one way out and I don't have the strength to do it. Basically since 2018 I haven't been able to keep a job for more than 2 to 3 months. I recently did my longest stint of 6 months or so. I actually really loved the place and work but I had to move on. I made a good chunk from crypto and topped that off with living with my parents. I can essentially work for minimum wage and still have well over a 50% savings rate. I usually feel a deep sense of guilt working with people who are paid just enough to break even. It's really difficult to relate to people for me. I quiet quit, just stopped working and caring. Skated like that for 6 months and they gave me the option to resign or they would fire me. So I resigned. Heckin' buttholes didn't deserve me. Lucky me, a month later I found a more interesting job with a better team. Yeah, I took an 8% pay cut, but I'm still pulling down $20K a month and saving 50% of that. Also, I'm due for a promotion in 3 months and I'll close that pay cut delta by 50%. My commute now is 20 minutes a day and not 2 hours per day. Living well is the best revenge. I quit on the spot several times. It always worked out because I had good reasons such as the company I worked for was faking data. The next interviewer hired me after listening to my motive. The only time I couldn't bounce back and get a new job within a few weeks was when I quit due to being asked for my private medical records, vax status, at which point I dropped out of my 15-year career and never looked back. How dare they, and yes it's every company in that industry even now 4 years later. Bump, worked at the same place for 19 years and would do anything to quit but have no formal education and only so much money, Bitcoin/link, set aside. Every time I would quit I would just stop showing up. Did this to probably 10 crappy places. Some places I worked at I honestly don't even remember the heckin' name of the place because I would work for like 1 week, realize this is a horrific waste of life that isn't even 0.0000001% worth it and stop going. Also did this for things like FedEx. Some heckin' loser waste of life boss or whatever guy was on my butt telling me to hurry up day 2 unloading trucks even though I was definitely not a noob at that and doing fine so I said screw that loser and stopped going. Not getting bossed around by a heckin' regarded guy plus they worked you like a horse. Amazon technically fired me because they have a point system so I ran out of points from skipping or being late so much. The longest I ever held was my first job from 18 to 21 at Kroger but then they got some new boss at my store that was some Asian regard lady and she fired me for being a few minutes late too much even though I did that for 3 years straight and was consistently one of if not the fastest cashier every month or whatever. Some other Asian lady failed me for cheating in college too in a heckin' beginner programming class because she thought I just copy-pasted with zero proof, so I dropped out for a while and worked crap jobs for a while until I went back to a different school and graduated. This is why I hate these types of women though, and probably always will. Anyway, even though those two Asian ladies tried to ruin my life, eventually I made 500x more than I've ever even dreamed of being able to save up because of crypto. So screw waging and screw regard slave drivers that try to screw with you for no reason. Worked at some game store, which was awesome, but I wanted to boink my boss and she wouldn't have anything to do with it because I worked for her obviously. I quit and then started texting her again a few months later while I was working at Amazon, and we started talking and then boinking for years now. Yeah, kind of. I got into a row with my boss, woman, and basically called her a fat crap and just put my laptop on her desk and walked out. I tried the whole freelance route, but it was hard to take a 25-year-old expert seriously. Only real benefit was I worked like 10 hours a week because I was lazy/regarded and could go to the gym 7 days a week and enjoy hobbies from my savings. After a while I got a job in recruiting for my field based on a small salary and commission. The bar for recruiters is low because it's most regards who have no idea what they're looking for. I on the other hand will net 180k in commissions because my job placement rate is absurdly high compared to my peers. Also had a kind of construction/development job where I got paid under the table like an illegal immigrant for like $7 per hour like 4 to 5 years ago. Was the most physically demanding crap job I've worked for, dog crap pay, so I basically quit after we finished renovating 2 buildings that I was working on for like 2 to 3 months I think. I got hired because of my friend's bro. He's cool, but the guy we were working for was kinda weird and made some jacking a joke on day one. Then this other guy there would talk about how he wanted to boink every woman that walked by, and then found out later the guy I worked for knew some biatch I heckin' hated that got someone I know drunk and straight up took advantage of him. Even though it was a woman, there's no questioning it was taking non-consensual, and the guy who got taken advantage of said she did. This happened years ago, so what happened was she got him so drunk he couldn't even move and she was just on top of him. So after hearing that, my way older creepy-ish boss was somehow friends with this biatch I heckin' hated and just went to a party at her house or something. I just lost all motivation to keep showing up and quit. Every time I've quit a job I would work like a dog for 6 weeks and then quit and live $3,000 for like 2 to 3 weeks and then commence a job search. I did once have no job, paid under the table, for about a month and a half. It was actually a lot of fun. Each time I quit my job I didn't know what I was going to do. I've sort of been guided around work-wise, always got in or suggested my jobs by family or friends. But it's always worked out. Every new job has had better opportunities to learn and made more money each jump. Each job I only stayed like 2 years too. It's sort of becoming a cycle now kinda. Think I should stop because I want to quit this job too despite it being a really good one. The pay was crap. I overheard a friend talking about another company that basically did the same thing and paid more, so I left. I think my former supervisor even cried about it, while now I can afford an XOR bag. I quit an ESL job in Japan because one of the assistant principals was a gigantic crap and had a special hatred for me. I didn't even try to fit into Japanese culture, which was never a problem, but it irritated him for some reason. Most Japanese don't even want foreigners there, so they're fine with you not trying to fit in. Anyway, I left the country, had been there for a few years and was sick of it. I simply left. I quit my job in an outsourcing company. Basically was writing firmware for some large Euro company and it was dreadful. Like the thought of going back there was introducing bad thoughts within my head. To be honest, the job itself was okay, but the company I worked for treated employees like trash even though every single one had a degree and we were paid pennies on the dollar. Colleagues were also total crap. The code was an ultimate intangible spaghetti with no comments or documentation, and we were supposed to use libraries and other junk from the company we worked for, also without any examples, documentation or comments. I didn't work a single day out of my notice, but they had to pay me that last month even though I didn't work, otherwise I'd sue. Anons, if you work for a crappy company, interview in work time and fill out job applications, go to your vacation, use up sick leave and get a doctor's paper, and after all of this when you return just quit the job. They can't do squat. You have to abuse the system, otherwise you'll be abused. Not to heckin' mention the client company managers, useless craps that can't even operate Excel/Word. I would like to say some completely autistic crap that went out of their regarded mouths, but I would be doxing myself by doing this. The most amazing idea from the manager was to start the development of the firmware without even having anything to run it. LMAO. It's basically just writing code for something that doesn't exist yet. You can't test or run the code at all because it's closely tied to the hardware. I quit my R&D job at DuPont a while back. Basically all science jobs are fake. As a white guy you're going to be a contractor. What that means is that you don't work for the company, you work for a company that works for your boss. Basically, I got pissed off that there were meetings about the contractors saying that we weren't supposed to get any info on the processes we were developing, the chemistry of the metal plating liquid we were using, or even what the goal of the project was. Turns out that it was because our names were never on the NDA or the project at all. So I got to work for them for a year, learn nothing and develop no skills. If you guys have any questions about the glass circuit boards that Intel is going to have in the next few years, ask away. Worked for an MSP for about 3 months, which is a company that handles multiple levels of IT management for other companies, basically outsourced IT. I had maybe $15K total saved up when I quit. They offered me a free 3-week boot camp, which was fairly helpful, but then instead of hiring us full-time, they hired us as interns and paid us $10.25 per hour. Full-time with benefits was like $15 per hour. I noticed several people who stuck around for the 3-week course didn't accept the offer, presumably over the terrible wages. They had us assigned to teams based on their client's industry, medical, industrial, food, etc., and each team handled 5 to 8 different clients. Each client could have a wildly different tech environment. I remember of the Tech 2s, the next highest level than what I'd be if I was full-time, had to sit in WebEx meetings with Cisco for an entire week to diagnose and resolve one of their clients' network issues. I didn't want to have that much responsibility for several different companies' IT. I can't imagine he was getting paid any more than $25 per hour.